All right. Welcome to Tuesday's Tools on Purpose at the Business on Purpose podcast. Tuesdays are all about equipping you with the tools that you need to run your business with intention and purpose. Our mission here at Business on Purpose is to liberate business owners from chaos so they can make time for what matters most. My name's Patrice Miles. I'm one of the coaches on the team. And every Tuesday, I love to dive into the world of tools because in a world where your time is your most precious asset, finding the right tools to streamline your operations and elevate your business can really make all the difference. So, in each episode, I always bring you interviews with experts. We share success stories. We provide step by step guides to empower you on your business journey. But remember, guys, it's not just about having the right tools. You actually have to use them. So today's topic is all about experienced yet compatible new hires. We are finding over and over again in our coaching with business owners that you're having a hard time finding experienced candidates meeting all those perfect little check boxes for that role in your company. You meet a candidate that has a great resume, great attitude, and would be a great fit for your company, but they just don't have the experience that you want. We all want that candidate that we can just bring in and hand the reins over to and they can just run, right? Well, business owners like Chris Kornman with Entablature Design Build out of New Orleans have come to the conclusion that if you find the right candidate with great onboarding and training, you can get the experience. So I am super excited to introduce you to Chris. Chris, welcome to the podcast. Tell us just a little bit about yourself.
And I founded Entablature 13 years ago. We are in New Orleans. I'm a residential and commercial general contractor. We primarily do large, high-end residential restoration work. So in New Orleans, most of the houses are 100, 120, 150 years
Mm.
old, and we do a lot of historic preservation, historic restoration work. We do new construction when we get it, but it's very, very hard to tear houses down in New Orleans because of all the historic regulations. So primarily we're doing renovation work. We have a company of 9 employees. I'm married, born in New Orleans, grew up in New Orleans, lived in Atlanta for about 11 years and came back. I have 2 teenage children, a son and a daughter, and 2 dogs who occasionally go to work with me.
That's great. Well, I'm super excited about today's topic, and I would love to just hear from you. Tell me just a little bit about this onboarding and training that you were doing for these inexperienced yet compatible new hires.
Sure. I would say that over the past couple of years, the pool of applicants has shifted pretty dramatically. But I don't think this was like a sudden shift. I think it's something that's been coming for a very long time, especially in the
Mm.
construction industry. The National Association of Home Builders and even all over the national news, you get these reports, annual reports periodically that just say the number of people going into the trades, so
Mm.
going into construction, plumbing, electrical, HVAC, skilled carpentry, those type of people who are the people that I need to do my job and the people who are fueling the entire housing industry, they don't exist anymore. Those skills were handed down from generation to generation. A long time ago, they came out of trade schools. Well, decades and decades ago, the United States made a very purposeful push to get kids into science and engineering tracks. Well, they got those kids by taking them out of the tracks of
Mm.
teaching them trades. So we've had a huge depletion of the pool of applicants who, people who understand construction, have a natural sort of inclination to it because they've been exposed to it their whole life. Now, that doesn't mean that there are still not people out there who are naturally inclined. There are people who very much like once they're exposed to construction and really understand it and understand that you're not just out there swinging a hammer and sweating in 100-degree temperatures, that it's a lot of problem solving. It's a lot of
Mm.
brain work. It's different every single day. It's dealing with people of all different personalities. It's exciting work. And once people understand that and are exposed to it, they quickly recognize what an amazing field it can be to work in. And I would also say that we pay very well. So it can be a lucrative career for people. So because of this shift over the decades, we've really realized and the light bulb kind of just went off in the past year or two we've realized that we're going to have to create those people there. We can't just keep searching and searching and searching and finding the one needle in the haystack. We have to make those people ourselves and search for the right cultural fit, the right personality style, people who are highly organized, and people who can communicate effectively, because they have to be able to communicate with our clients, who are often doctors and lawyers and somewhat demanding, and then be able to communicate with guys who are pouring concrete and digging trenches and framing, swinging a hammer, and those are different worlds. So for construction project managers and site superintendents, they have to straddle that world often, and that's requires high level communication skills. So what we've done now is we've shifted our search to the personality traits and a fit with our specific culture. And then we've implemented and are always constantly evolving it, and still very much in the process of that, implemented a training program to teach them the skills that we feel like we need them to have. Now, that doesn't mean that, for someone to have absolutely no construction experience probably is not going to be a great fit for our particular company, simply because what we do as historic preservationists, it's very, very unique, and it's probably the most challenging type of construction work you can do on the residential side. But someone with absolutely no construction experience can easily go into a large residential new construction company. And a lot of those companies, who are usually publicly traded companies like KB Home and Pulte, DR Horton, they have what they call universities. They have DR Horton University and Pulte University, and they're training people with zero construction experience. So we like people who have some sort of basic knowledge, and it doesn't have to be extensive. They have to know a little bit about framing, a little bit about carpentry, a little bit about HVAC, but then we're training them specifically what we need. And so what we have set up, and of course, it all starts with documentation. We're longtime BOP clients, and we've learned that you have to create all of your processes and document them. Otherwise, they don't exist. So our entire training program is documented and then reviewed and revised. First of all, we start with just some assessments, to understand right when we hire them, kind of understand how they approach work. We use DISC, we use Working Genius. We want sort of an understanding of just how they operate in the world. And then our onboarding process is pretty specific and intensive. They spend time getting exposure to the various software programs that we use, project management software systems. They get exposure certainly to our culture, what we expect, how our cultural scorecards, how we document that sort of stuff. They get exposure to all the various aspects and roles in each company. So they'll spend time with each person at all levels. We're not a huge company, so that's not that hard, but we want them to understand the office manager's role and the selection coordinator's role and the director of construction's role. Sometimes that's ride-alongs. Sometimes it's sitting down with that person for an hour or two and just sort of going through what they do. We have what we call Friday Field School. And this is important because I guess Friday Field School really speaks to the fact that training never stops. So Friday Field School is every single person in our company goes out to a project out in the field, and our director of construction chooses a topic and just spends 30 minutes talking about that topic. So the office manager is getting exposure to, all right, how do you pour a foundation? And, how do you stucco? What are the layers of stucco on the exterior of a building? So it's good training for the new employee, but it's always a new kind of thing that they're being exposed to. But it's great training for people who at various roles in our company, who they don't necessarily need to know a ton about construction to do their jobs, like the office manager. But, then we're all speaking the same language. So Friday Field School is one part of it. That initial onboarding is obviously a lengthy, extensive part of it. And the other piece that we do is, we don't call it mentorship, but essentially it's mentorship, is where, we pair somebody with a very experienced project manager for the course of their job role. And that project manager is written into their job description that
Mm.
training is a critical component of their job description. They're not using the person who's under them just to pick up trash and move lumber around and, kind of do the menial tasks. They're there to learn, and the project manager is there to teach them. And we help the project manager understand, what does that mean to teach somebody who's under you, and what does it look like exactly? Some people have very different learning styles. And so we just want to make sure that, we're delivering that experience in a way that is best for both the person who's teaching and the person who's learning. And then on top of all that, whenever we can, we will either bring in speakers who, like a person who's an expert in window restoration,
Mm.
or we'll go to a class or a seminar. There's a nonprofit organization here called the Preservation Resource Center. They have tons of great classes and seminars. I actually teach some of them periodically, but we'll send, our project managers and our site supers and various people there. And then we will go to things like the National Association of Home Builders Conference, where we were just there with BOP, that I probably attended 20 something different classes over the course
Yeah.
of 3 days. And it's just, the most concentrated, just a huge concentration of knowledge all in one place at the Association of Home Builders. I went there with two other employees so they could get a lot of exposure to, important knowledge.
Yeah, no, this is great. So, Chris, just to kind of recap a little bit, number one, I loved what you said about you learned to stop looking for that needle in a haystack. And instead, you're looking for somebody that fits into your culture, that has great communication skills. You're using things like personality, disc testing, working genius to kind of see where they fit. And then loved hearing about the onboarding and how specific it is and how you're exposing them to your tech and exposing them to the roles. Love the Friday field school. That is fantastic. And just the fact that you said training never stops, which is so true. And the fact that with that Friday field training, everyone gets to speak the same language, as you said. Love hearing about the mentorship through that senior PM. And for you guys that don't have that senior person, that might be you. And that's okay, because that means that you're going to do that mentorship. And then it sounds like you're saying, as far as speakers and seminars, you guys are always on the lookout for that next training opportunity, that next seminar that can help everyone. And I even know here locally with our Home Builders Association, the vendors are always putting on some type of training. The lumber
Mhm.
company is, the window company is, and just getting to expose to those things is great. And it doesn't matter whether you're in construction or not construction, there's always training for whatever field or industry that you are in. I did have one question.
Yeah.
Because I do hear this from anytime business owners are talking about hiring somebody inexperienced and bringing them through training programs like you're doing. How do you monitor or measure, their progress and knowing, okay, 90 days, we wanted to achieve these experiences, or we wanted to achieve, these markers, so we know that you now know about this and know about that.
Sure. I mean, it's somewhat subjective, but
Okay.
we have very specific processes in place for getting that feedback loop, checking in with them and getting a sense of how they feel like things are going, and then giving them feedback. So with every employee, not just new employees, we do biweekly check-ins. That's a, important POP process. So that's a 15-minute phone call with every single person across the company. But those new people, I tell those new people, we're valuable to you because we're hopefully teaching you new skills, but you're really valuable to us because you're seeing our systems with fresh eyes. And there's a lot
Mm.
of great information that you can give us that we, because we have sort of our system blinders on, we may not really be seeing. So those 15-minute check-ins are a great way to make sure, hey, how's your training going? What feels like is working, what's not working. We do, of course, performance evaluations. They
Mm.
self-eval and we eval. We evaluate them, they self-eval, and then we compare the two. And then we do a quarterly, this is actually anonymous, and I stole this from a BOP client who's in South Carolina, Taylor Landscaping, who I went to visit them, and they have a tremendous culture. I was so impressed. So they do, and now we do it too, is an anonymous quarterly survey. I think they do it monthly because they're a much bigger company. And it's just, the questions are like, has anybody recognized what a great job you're doing, in the past couple of weeks? Are you getting what you need? Do you have all the tools to do your job? Those sorts of questions. So even though it's anonymous, it's great feedback for making sure that everyone
Yeah.
whole is getting what they need. And if some of those scores are low, then we're addressing that. So, that feedback loop I think is really important. And then, of course, our director of construction is in charge out in the field of, those new employees, just checking in with them and being like, okay, we're going to go pour a foundation today. Let's talk through what are the steps? What are you seeing? What are you not seeing? We just finished framing a house. Let's walk through it. And you point out 5 things you see that you think need some remediation before we tell the framers they're totally done. So those sorts of things, that kind of checking in, that role for the director of construction, that's written into his job description, but it's not so specific that it's sort of baked into just what he does every day. It's a written process, but there's no like sheet of paper where he has to go and evaluate on a daily basis the new employee. That's really just literally a daily thing that's kind of baked into the culture.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And so what I hear you saying is basically checking in, feedback loops, just to, of course, make sure that they're catching everything. And then that, of course, those expectations are set. So I love it. Chris, this is fantastic. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate it. We love BOP.
Thank you. Thank you. Guys, that is a wrap for Tuesday's Tools on Purpose. Enjoy your new tool and really a new mindset of just onboarding and training inexperienced yet compatible new hires. Remember, every small action can lead to big results. What action are you going to take today in regards to onboarding and training the inexperienced yet compatible hires that are just out there waiting to join your team? Write it down and then go and implement. For those of you that are tired of living in chaos and are ready to start prioritizing working on your business instead of in it, you can schedule a discovery call with me so that way I can learn a little bit more about your business. And then we can determine a path towards freedom for you and your team. Kevin is going to put up the QR code and also the web address for that discovery call, or you can simply just email me at patrice@mybusinessonpurpose.com. We also have our healthy business owner assessment if you are brave enough to take it, and you can find out how healthy your business really is. You can scan the QR code again that Kevin's going to pipe in the web address, and I will let you guys know that a 0 is not good, but a 40 is a perfect score. So go find out right now how healthy your business really is. Otherwise, guys, I will see you all next Tuesday. Thanks so much.